So what do we have? Self. It suggests an inquiry into the self, or an inquiry that leads to the self. And the word inquiry implies questions. And I thought about this a lot. The question is a rhetorical device, and a very powerful rhetorical device. What a question does is it focuses consciousness on a particular thing. What's that? When you say, what's that, you've eliminated everything else in the universe, and only that thing is focused on. And consciousness powerfully focuses on that. So questions bring to bear awareness on a particular subject. And thinking about it further, you can realize that all sciences and all human enterprises use the question to focus the light of awareness. Now, I'm a bit of a lunatic about awareness and consciousness and the power of awareness, as you'll probably hear during these talks, so I'm just warning you. I'm a great devotee of consciousness. Anyway, question's very powerful. So physics, for example, asks, what are the laws of the physical universe? What else would you say physics asks? Is that a fair assessment? What are the laws of the physical universe? Okay. Chemistry asks, what are these things made of? No? Psychology asks, what are these insane people, what makes them tick? What makes people tick? A chess player asks, what move shall I play? Or what happens if he goes there? You know, in baseball, the batsman, the hitter, asks, what pitch is this pitcher going to throw me next? And of course, in cricket, he asks, how can I doctor the ball? It's terrible, right? I could give you a whole talk about doctoring the ball in baseball. It's a whole story, but I will refuse to do it. But anyway, all these inquiries are external ones. They ask things about the outer world. And the twist with self-inquiry, of course, is that the inquiry goes inward. And therefore, I believe it's the highest and most profound form of inquiry, at least it is for a yogi. We're always investigating. Human beings are very inquisitive. They're always investigating and exploring. And to me, the final frontier is not space, but inner space. And so when we start to ask, who am I and what's my consciousness about, then we're really moving into the final frontier, which is the spiritual, the inner realm. So inward and outward, I always begin my Learn to Meditate courses by saying the first principle is that we live in two worlds simultaneously. We live in the outer world of objects and things, and the inner world. The outer world of matter, and the inner world of consciousness. And of course, in Western culture, we've focused powerfully on the outer world. And we need to learn that, or we're beginning to learn, I think, that if we focus on the inner world, it's very rewarding, very empowering, and essential to really understand what it's all about and for happiness and joy and understanding. The inner world, everything in the inner world is consciousness. And breaking it down further, consciousness consists of thought and feeling, a thinking aspect and an emotional, a feeling aspect. In Sanskrit, chit and ananda, consciousness and bliss, chit and ananda. Now, the Shiva process is about working with thought and feeling. That is your own consciousness. So it's about understanding consciousness, and even you could say it's about a worship of consciousness. We don't realize how important our own awareness is, how sacred it is, how mysterious it is, and how rewarding it is to start to understand something about it. Now, the human predicament, we talk about the human predicament. And what it is precisely is the predicament of consciousness living in a world of matter. That's what it is. In Christian symbology, they say that's the cross, Jesus' cross represents consciousness in the cross of matter. The problem is matter. If we could control everything without consciousness, we'd have whatever we wanted all the time. But then there's the damn material world, which ignores us. You notice this? So this is the predicament of consciousness living in matter. So as Madonna said, we are living in a material world, and I'm a material girl. Is that what she said? How's that go? But I would anyway. While matter is indifferent, consciousness cares too much. It's characterized by what scriptures say, raga and dvesa, or attachment and aversion. Have you noticed that? There's just some things you want and some things you want to avoid. And this is the characteristic of consciousness. Consciousness has desires, and the world of matter is completely indifferent to your desires. Consciousness has fears, and the world of matter is implacable and indifferent to your fears. Do you realize what a predicament this is that we live in? To me, this is stark and terrifying. But now in the Eastern tradition, the realized being, the enlightened person, the siddha, the sage, the yogi, the rishi, is one who can keep his or her inner consciousness balanced, peaceful, and joyous, while living this paradoxical relationship with the indifferent outer material world. So despite whatever arises in your life, whatever things go in the wrong way, whatever other people do to you that is not pleasant, whatever things happen, to maintain a loving equanimity is really the goal. And that's no joke, isn't it? Very difficult to live this life in which this particular situation is, and live it with joy. And that's the goal of yoga. So in this real world, there's always tension and frustration. Let's get real. And we can imagine a world of perfect fulfillment. I'm sure you may have done that 12 times today already. But it would have to be a world of pure spirit or consciousness. Otherwise, obstacles are inherent in this material world. But to deal with the inherent problems that face us as spirit living in matter, we do self-inquiry. And we solve the issues of this. Now, actually, we all do self-inquiry naturally. Natural form. What movie do I want to go to? Oh, I'll go there. What will I do? What job will I take? I'll do that. We go inside and we inquire. And sometimes we do it okay, but sometimes we do this kind of inquiry badly. We discover that there are a number of voices inside of us, and sometimes we listen to the wrong voice. And we know that because we say, in hindsight, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Have you ever said that? I knew I shouldn't have done that. Here's where I can't resist making the joke. Just think about your first 2 marriages. I'm sorry, I can't help it. It's a really good joke, isn't it? What was I thinking? What was I thinking? Huh? Sorry. so, so, oh, now, when we do inquiry effectively, we get in touch with what I call the true voice of the self. Of course, if there are false voices in there that tell you do that and it's bad, there are also another voice which you didn't listen to, right? That told you do this and it was good. And so to get in touch with the true voice of the self, we meditate, we do inquiry. And then our inquiry yields good results. So I'm hoping that over the course of these lectures, we can start attuning ourselves to the voice of the self, the true voice. We have to first be able to distinguish the good voices from the bad ones, right? That's one first thing. How do you tell the difference? And the second thing is we have to be strong enough, disciplined enough to listen to the voice of the self and not those glittering other ones that lead us astray down the primrose path. So all this comes from doing effective self-inquiry.